Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important ideas in all of real estate, highest and best use. Honestly, it's the secret key to figuring out what a property is really worth, way beyond what you might see at first glance. And to show you what I mean, let's kick things off with a little puzzle.
So picture this. You see this small, kind of rundown house, but it's sitting right on a super busy commercial highway. Now your gut might tell you it's not worth a whole lot, right? But what if I told you an appraiser might value it in the millions? How on earth is that possible?
Well, the answer has nothing to do with what the property is today. It's all about what it could become. You see, in real estate, true value is almost always locked up in its future potential, not just its current condition.
Now, this whole idea of potential isn't just some vague concept. It actually has a formal name in the world of real estate valuation. It's called highest and best use, or HBU for short. So let's dig into what that actually means.
Okay, I know that sounds like a mouthful, but every single word in that definition is critical. It's basically a formula. It says the best use has to be legal, it has to be physically possible, it's got to be financially smart, and, this is the real kicker, it has to be maximally productive. This definition is the exact tool we need to solve the puzzle of our rundown house.
So how do appraisers actually find this, maximally productive use? They don't just pull it out of a hat. They have to run every single possible idea for a property through this really tough step-by-step process. I like to think of it as a 4-test gauntlet. And here are the 4 hurdles any idea for a property has to clear, and they have to be cleared in this exact order. If a proposed use fails even one of these tests, boom, it's out. It doesn't even get to the next round. Let's break them down.
First up, the law. You could have the most brilliant, profitable idea in the world for a piece of land, but if it's not allowed by law, it's a complete non-starter. This is the very first filter, and it's an absolute one.
And when we say law, we're not just talking about one simple rule. Oh no, we're talking about a whole web of things. You've got local zoning rules, you've got building codes for safety, environmental regulations, and you can even have private rules written right into the property's deed. So here's a super simple example. Let's go back to that rundown house on the highway. Say you want to tear it down and build a brand new apartment complex. Great idea! But if that land is zoned strictly for commercial use only, your apartment idea fails test number 1 right out of the gate. It's legally impermissible. Game over for that idea. All right, so let's say your idea is legal. Fantastic. The next question you have to ask is, can you actually do it? This test is all about the cold, hard realities of the land itself. I mean, the physical facts of the site are everything. Is the lot big enough? Is it on the side of a cliff? Is the soil basically quicksand? Can you even get roads, water, and power to it? Is it in a flood zone? These are the practical, real-world questions that need a solid yes. I mean, this one's pretty obvious, right? It might be perfectly legal to build a giant shopping mall in that part of town, but you can't bend the laws of physics. If your lot is only 200 square meters, the idea of building a huge mall there fails the physical possibility test immediately. Okay, so your idea is legal, and it's physically possible. We're getting somewhere. But now we get to the big one, money. Is this project actually going to make a profit? Because if the answer is no, it's not really a use, it's more like an expensive hobby. And the rule here is really simple, but it's absolutely critical. The money you expect to make from the property has to be more than all the money you're going to spend to build it and to run it. If those costs outweigh the income, the project is just not financially feasible. Think about it this way. You could legally and physically build a fancy, luxury, high-rise condo in a remote, low-income rural area. But who's going to buy the apartments? The market demand just isn't there, so it would never make enough money to cover its own costs. That project fails the financial feasibility test big time. And that brings us to the final showdown. At this point, you might have a few different ideas that have all passed the first 3 tests. They're all legal, they're all possible, and they would all make some money. So the final question is, which one of them makes the most money?
So for our property, let's say we could build a warehouse and get a 10 million peso return. Or we could build an apartment building and get a 12 million peso return. Hey, both are pretty good options. But what if building a retail complex would generate a 15 million peso return? Well, just like that, the retail complex wins. It is the maximally productive use. It is the highest and best use.
Now, just when you think you've got it all figured out, things get a little more interesting. See, appraisers don't just run through this whole gauntlet once. They actually look at the property from 2 totally different angles.
which can lead to some really different answers. First, they analyze the property as vacant, which means they pretend it's just an empty piece of dirt. The question here is, if we were starting from scratch, what is the absolute best thing we could build right here? Then they analyze it as improved, which means they look at it with the building that's already there. And now the question is totally different. Given what we have, what's our smartest move? Do we keep it? Do we change it? Or do we just tear it down?
Looking at the property as improved leads to one of three possible answers. Maybe, just maybe, the current building is already the best use. Or maybe we could do a renovation and turn it into something more profitable. But sometimes, and this gets us right back to our little puzzle, the most valuable thing you can do is tear down the existing building completely and redevelop the land to its true highest and best use.
So why do we go through all of this? Why does this whole process matter so much? Because this analysis isn't some abstract exercise. It is the absolute bedrock of how properties are valued in the real world.
Just think about our examples. A house on a highway is worth a certain amount as a house, but the second its highest and best use is identified as a commercial building, its value just skyrockets. The same exact thing happens when farmland near a growing city is no longer seen as just the farm, but as a future housing subdivision. The real value is in the potential.
And that brings us to the most important thing to remember from all of this. This is the core rule that every single appraiser lives by. Value isn't about what's there now, it's about use. So the next time you drive by a little rundown building in a fantastic location, don't just see what's there. Instead, ask yourself, what could this most profitably become? Because the answer to that question, that's its true value.